Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who?
Exactly.
Oh, stop.
He's back, baby.
Oh, God.
Hey, everyone. I'm Derek. That's Noah. Today, we're talking about the rest of the episodes of Doctor Who Season 2, because if you listen to our episode covering the rest of the episodes of The Last of Us Season 2, you learned that I had some health things going on, but we're back, right?
Yeah, we're back. So we missed, 3 episodes, I think, of Doctor Who?
Yes.
As far as doing episode by episode. So we're going to, just like what we did with The Last of Us, we're going to regurgitate our thoughts on Doctor Who Season 2. And Ncuti's goodbye to the Who. Oh, thoughts and feelings. They all been just bottling up inside. I can't wait to get them out. And I'm sure he can't wait to hear me.
A surprising farewell for the season, we shall say.
Yeah. So spoiler ahead for Doctor Who as a franchise and Season 2.
All right. So let us officially take a bite of Doctor Who Season 2. So we're going to start off with the Interstellar Song Contest, which I thought was a really fun episode.
I think it's a good idea to talk about that before we get into the 2-parter finale.
Yeah.
Just because it's so different.
And obviously this was perfectly timed. So if you're a fan of Eurovision, you know about the Eurovision Song Contest, and this was out the same weekend that was. And so it was like, that was fun planning, I thought, on Doctor Who production team's part. And this episode, I felt like, was solidly Whovian, right? It took place in space. There were some new creatures introduced, or aliens or species introduced. And I think that it unearthed some things about actually what's going on with Earth. And I didn't even say that.
Just a little bit. And we also got Dugadoo.
Oh, they were great. And we also got Graham Norton.
Yeah, whole Graham Norton, right. I thought the episode was really fun. I honestly think that some parts of it, acting wise, and just production and the set, was some of the best of the season. I think there's a trend that's happening a little bit in Russell T Davies too, where the ideas are good, but some of the execution just isn't as great. And I think particularly with this episode, like, everything that's happening in Gaza, and then having this episode with, like, you have one genocide victim and another genocide victim talking to each other, but then, like, the things that the doctor does at the end, some of it just didn't land too great as far as what I think. But as a whole, some of the best visuals in this entire season. The unfortunate, when everybody gets launched up into space and that bubble, I don't think Who has looked that good, and it's unfortunate that their bodies being launched into space, but it looks so good. And the songs were fun. I think we could have used more songs.
I agree. I mean, it was fun that we had our co-hosts. One of them was feline. Was like a feline humanoid character. And we definitely needed more songs. It would have been more fun to see more of the program, because as we were watching the Doctor and Belinda watch it, they're having such a good time watching it. It would have been nice to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But I absolutely see what you were saying. I thought that it was interesting at the end of this episode to see the Doctor be so intense and so kind of really threatening to the folks that took over the song contest, which we don't really see that often. And for me, I mean, I kind of welcomed it a little bit. It was nice to see a different side of the Doctor, but I know for folks that are more like yourself, who have really been with the series for a long time, it felt kind of jarring.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Doctor's rage is always a thing, right? But it's really on how they contain it or deal with it or whatever in the situations that they're in. And a lot of this, the ways that they overcome things, is nonviolence. So to see the Doctor enact violence repeatedly was jarring, in that, like, there's things that make a character. And that's like one of the things that was like, I'm not saying they can't. I think that there are situations where it's warranted. I'm not too sure in that situation it was. Like, I get it. A lot happened, right? He thought he lost Belinda. He thought he lost all of these people. And the Delta Wave was going to wipe out pretty much the whole western side of the galaxy, I think they said. So it's a lot, right? And he's getting flashbacks of everything that happened to Gallifrey. I don't know. It's just like, you kind of wrote the character to do that. So I'm not too sure how I feel about it. I think that part, if we didn't have that, this episode may have landed a little better for people, myself included. But I did think it was, oddly enough, fun in some of the other circumstances. We got a queer couple in here that I loved how they both kind of fell in love with the doctor, but they were an integral part to saving everybody. So I think that there's some really high points in this episode and some low points.
Yeah, I was going to bring up that representation of the queer couple as well. And I was trying to figure out at the beginning of the episode, like where they were going to fit into this whole thing. I thought that they were just going to be annoyed that the doctor and Belinda took their seats at the contest. But in reality, they were the ones that were able to save everyone. I do think one of the important things of this episode is that little Graham Norton piece where he lets us know that Earth no longer exists. And so that is kind of, honestly, I'm not sure if it actually answers the big question mark of the season, but it gives us a clue as to maybe why Belinda can't get back to Earth.
Yeah. I'll say, yeah, I guess I'll save more of those thoughts for like when we get to the finale pieces of this episode. It was one of those things we kind of could piece together of like, okay, well, you can't get somewhere that doesn't exist, right? So I guess that makes sense. So when we saw this episode, we got the screener for it. And when the TARDIS explodes, that's where our episode ended. We didn't get credits. We didn't get anything. And I was like, this is weird. Nothing makes sense. And then so when we were going to record it, which we didn't get to, thanks, Derek, but
I almost died.
But then I saw on Saturday, people were talking about Mrs. Flood. And I was like, what? So then we had to wait. And then we finally were able to watch it. And I was like, the Rani? Interesting. So this entire time, the big revelation of who Mrs. Flood is. And I think I did say that back in season 1. I'm like, she's wearing the Rani's outfit, that white outfit at the end of season 1. I was like, that almost makes me think that it's her. Turns out it is. So we got another by Regeneration, which is a little annoying. I don't know if I like that thing that keeps happening. I think the explanation that the Rani gives, Archie's Rani, is that because they're all sterile and they can't reproduce, the Time Lord's physiology is figuring out a way to reproduce, and that's by regeneration.
They're like amoebas.
Yeah,
basically.
I think it's fine as a one-off, as a 60th anniversary special. But I'm not too sure I like that.
The bi regeneration doesn't bother me so much, but in general, but I think what bothered me about this, and I feel like this is where things sort of fell apart for the rest of the season, is that Mrs. Flood was our big, almost villain that was going through season 1 and season 2, especially in season 2. And then once the bi regeneration happens, she becomes a lackey of the Rani. And so that for me feels like, why did we build this character up so long for her to just become someone's second in command?
Yeah, I think when that had happened, I believe that was one of the things that we had talked about when we saw it. I was like, that's weird that she's like subservient to the Rani. I think that's my issue with bi regeneration, right? It's like, you are the same person, you just kind of split. And then from that split, you're almost different, right? Because we have 14 and 15, they're different, but they're the same. I just think it complicates things unnecessarily. And then to your point, it's like, we've had 2 seasons of this character of like, who is she? What is she going to do? And then for her to just be, I'll get those numbers for you. I'll report this for you. And then dip out at the end is the signs of too much stuff was happening in a show or a story. And they just didn't know how to execute it well or finish the story.
Yeah. And kind of going along those lines now, correct me if I'm wrong. The doctor begins having flashbacks to, or flash forwards or visions of Susan,
right?
His grandchild, right? And that also felt like it didn't go anywhere for me either. So it was like this Interstellar Song Contest episode gave us some things that didn't seem to really pan out in the final 2 episodes of the season.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, let's go to like, I guess we can call this not even just the finale, right? Or season 2. It's just kind of Ncuti's run, I would say. Very disappointed. I think, not to skip to the end, but when Ncuti was regenerating, there was whispers that it was going to happen. There was rumors. It kind of felt like it was going that way, oddly, in the finale. And I didn't want it to happen. I got physically upset of him regenerating. And it wasn't because he was regenerating mostly, it was because I felt like he deserved better. And I loved this doctor. I loved Ncuti as the doctor. And it just time and time again, when it felt like, oh, this is the doctor, like we're finally getting to know something about the doctor, something odd in the story happens, or like it kind of changes. And this just felt like such a short, just cut off with the doctor. So it made me very upset that they were leaving. And then for the final product of the end of their run or the season, it just didn't really land. And I think that's the nicest way I can put it, because you had Omega, you had the two Ranis, you had Poppy being very important, kind of almost out of nowhere. Susan was teased, but you don't see her ever again. Belinda's story kind of just gets rewritten oddly. And then us as an audience is almost gaslit into thinking that, oh, this whole time she was wanted to go back home to her child. That's fine. There was no indication of that. So it was just a lot of weird, big ideas that, again, didn't work altogether.
Yeah, I found that I had no idea that this was the end of Ncuti's run as the Doctor. And I think one of the things that is so upsetting to me is that it didn't feel like a natural end at all. And watching that final episode, I didn't think like, oh, this is our goodbye to this Doctor. This is their final moment. They kind of came to do what they had to do and it's over. It felt like it was tacked on to the end of the episode, this random scene of him by himself in the TARDIS and he's ready to change. And it just felt so unexpected. And it felt like the story was closed very unnaturally. And to me, that's what it felt like with Belinda. It felt like they really didn't know where they were going with her, or they were going to a different destination. And then by the end, for some reason, they needed to change it. Belinda as a character, what I was most excited for Belinda was that she was standing on her own, right? And she didn't necessarily want to be on this journey and she just wanted to get back home. And so I love the idea of having a companion who almost felt like they had a little more free will in this entire thing. And then for it to just boil down to something completely else. I mean, by I would say episode 3, she's not pushing as much to get back home.
Yeah, I think like as the episodes have been on, because, you know, there is that fantastical element of like, I get to travel space and time and I could possibly just go right back to my life when I left. Cool. That's always like the thing that captures the companion, right? I would say that's true. Like as episodes went on, because stuff started happening. So it's like, do we really want to spend time with her being upset she's not home yet? Come to find out, she had a daughter, and like, so it's like, oh, she should have been a little more. But that's the gaslighty thing of like the universe was off by a smidge and then you smash them together. I don't fully understand it. I think the thing that for me that's really upsetting with her, like not even just her story in general, I think her character completely changed. I think kind of what you're saying, like how she's, you know, could stand on her own. She is that reluctant companion, the one that could tell the doctor no, like, are you scanning my DNA without permission? It wasn't the Belinda that we started with. And that's when you can tell, oh, something behind the scenes happened. I don't want to like add to that fire. Who really knows aside from the people that did those decisions, and Ncuti and Russell T Davies and all of them? There's things that you can clearly tell from like interviews and just production stuff that there was a reshoot that happened at the house that Belinda had those final scenes with way after the fact when season 2 was already done. So it does seem that like maybe his regeneration was out of nowhere and it was supposed to continue. You know, maybe we'll find out at some point, but it's just unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, I think another unfortunate thing, like, sorry, we're being so down on the dumps over here, but another character, Ruby.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think like in Wish World, Ruby was like not like, it was kind of an odd whatever. And then like, oh, in the Reality War, when she, I don't know, just like let Connor off, I would have just punched the shit out. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That was like, we could, you know, let her punch somebody.
Yeah. It should have been Conrad and the whole Conrad. Yeah. And the whole Conrad's like, let's try and just wrap our minds around that for a second of just Conrad is kept in a room telling stories to people with the baby and he created a dinosaur world. Like
no,
what?
well, yeah. I mean, I think, again, it works if it wasn't coupled with the Pantheon, the Ranis, Omega, Belinda's story, Poppy, Susan, Ruby kind of out of nowhere again.
Other Susan.
Right, other Susan. Oh, yeah, she was there. Yeah, I think there was just too much. And it was, whatever. I'm just going to have an exposition dump. The Rani did it a few times and it was like, okay, that's fine. Like, Doctor Who is a lot of exposition. It's a lot of conversations, but they're clever conversations. And they're conversations that you want to hear again and again, or you're like, that's really clever, like how they figured this out or the explanation of this. But when it kept happening in these finales, I was like, oh, you're just telling us information that you should have, like it should have been conveyed, but it can't be conveyed. So now the villain has to monologue. It just, again, it just too much stuff, too many ingredients in the pot. Just didn't pay off.
Should we talk about the Rogue?
Oh, come on. Yeah. Okay. I do want to add some positives to this. Okay. Looked great.
Yes.
The music was banging. Performances, fantastic. I want to say Jodie Whittaker showing up, giving our doctor that like send off. Oh, it was beautiful. So beautiful. What other doctor could have done that for Ncuti but Jodie Whittaker's doctor? God, I miss her so much too. Like, I just wanted more of them together. And it does feel oddly comforting to have both of these doctors in a way have like a send off as much as we could get it, because I feel like both of them got shit for being the Doctor one, but also didn't get their full potential. Jodie's ended with a 6-episode special, essentially. And Ncuti's got cut short. It's very obvious it got cut short. So to have both of them, I don't know, send off with each other was kind of nice. You know, I wish she would have just gone and told Yaz, I love you. She should have done it. So maybe in the reality that got shifted back to normal. Maybe she did tell him. But her words to him of saying, you know, just go in there with the smile that you have. Oh, it's so good. And it's like those little moments, like when I think about this whole thing, this mess of a finale, that's the moment I think of. I'm like, it wasn't worth it for that, but I was like, man, that just, there's glimmers of like, guys, we could do this. It's right there. Come on.
Yeah. I need to know what happens down that one hallway of the TARDIS where like people just pop out of it and like, or like they change costumes and stuff.
There's a whole episode that takes place like all in the TARDIS. And I think it's Matt Smith and the Pawns. And there's like a swimming pool in there. Like it's crazy the amount of space that this TARDIS has. I'll have you watch it at some point.
That's super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree though. Like, even though I thought the Wish World episode was hella confusing, I loved the look of it. Kind of this retro 50s and 60s vibe. Just the houses, the dress, the costumes. I even loved the bins that they had out front where they threw their cups out, right? That felt like that stuff felt so clever, so clean, so cool, looked so crisp. I love the bright colors of everything. But the story itself just seemed a little all over the place.
Yeah. I liked Anita being involved with the Time Hotel. I'm not sure that's how the Time Hotel worked originally, but I liked the use of it here and bringing that character from Moffat's, our favorite Christmas special or holiday special. Hey, Joy came back too. Come on.
Joy's always back. Joy is a star, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what else. Like, I think Ncuti deserved more. I think a lot of people deserve more. This story oddly feels like it was originally meant to be something else and then just completely changed. Well, and it's unfortunate.
I think that's the bottom line. I think the thing that is most upsetting here is that there was an opportunity to do something really fantastic and it flopped. I think that it almost, upon reflection, felt like they knew they could do something really fantastic. They had all the tools, but they just fell back. But unfortunately, it didn't mesh. Things that they used to do didn't mesh with the things that they were trying to do.
Yeah, and there is a problem with Russell T Davies in the first season and this one of relying on nostalgia. There was something that he said, it's an interview, I can't remember where he did it, you can find it, where he talked about how this is like changing and it's new and like it should be for new people to just come in here and watch it and like not rely on blah blah blah. But it's like both end villains from both of these seasons are classic Who characters that people outside of the UK can't even watch because there's legally nowhere to watch them. So there's a lot of like relying on nostalgia. David Tennant coming back, great for 60th with the Nobles. It was so worth it. The Wild Blue Yonder is one of my favorite episodes of Who. I love that so much. But to bring Billie Piper back as the regenerated form of whatever that means, because it's not Rose. I'm hoping it's not Rose. It's the face of Rose. I don't understand. I'm very confused. I'm so confused. I wish I was happy. I think it's weird. There's other words I want to use, but I love this franchise so much. And it's like, I don't want to say desperate, but it feels desperate, right? I don't understand. And the unfortunate thing is at this moment, there's no like Doctor Who's going to come back. We don't know when. What's BBC and Disney going to do? So whatever happens, that could just be forgotten about. Like, oh, Billie coming back, like they just needed to put somebody there and Billie Piper was the person. Or it's going to be Billie Piper for like a special and then the next person.
Literally what I was going to say. It's going to be another Christmas special. It's going to be the Christmas special. They're going to regenerate again. And then it'll be the new person.
Regenerate. I swear to God, no more bi regenerations.
No. I'm done. It's bi regeneration.
No, I can't. No more. It's confusing. It doesn't make sense.
How about this? Because one of the best actors to come out of this season was Baby Poppy.
Well, okay. So like I honestly was on board with Poppy being the doctor's daughter. I'm like, cool. Okay, because Susan is the granddaughter, direct line. We got it. We know nothing about his family. And then for them to like rewrite it because the realities were off and they had to put it back together. Man, I had such hope. It was like, that is so cool. Yeah, I'm totally down with it. Taken away from us.
But in all seriousness, though, she was a great actor.
Yeah, the little baby.
Oh my gosh.
Loved.
Reacting to everything, blowing kisses. Mm-hmm. She was adorable. I think they should make a spin-off series called Baby Doctor and it's starring Poppy.
Yes, please.
Right?
Yes. I would like cute. That. Yeah. One of the scenes that I think is a standout, at least for the finale, aside from Ncuti not falling out of the TARDIS and just floating majestically with the giant beams of regeneration, is the scene when Poppy disappears. And you have Ruby, Belinda, and the Doctor in the TARDIS, and they're passing her coat back and forth, and it gets smaller and smaller. And the conversation of Poppy gets further and further away. And then the crib disappears. And to have Ruby be like, why is nobody remembering Poppy? Which they never answer on why Ruby can remember things. Maybe it's for the next season if we get one. But I just love that scene so much. It was just such a masterful way to explain something that's happening with it getting smaller and smaller and then it disappears.
Yes.
But I think that is then when everything changed. Because there's a point in when Ruby is like, where's Poppy? Blah, blah, blah. And the Doctor's kind of sidestepping it anytime Ruby says anything. And he winks at Ruby and he looks a little sad. So it's almost like he remembers, but he doesn't want Belinda to remember. And so he kind of wants it to go away. And then we get the ending we got. So that's when I think it changed.
What do you think it could have been?
Like, I think Poppy disappearing and then rewriting the realities so then it's Belinda's child, because Belinda thinks Poppy is her child. It could be, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like from Wish World, she's like, I believe it. And I feel like it's my child, so she's my child.
And they made it such a big part of that Wish World episode to make sure that Poppy survived.
Right.
And then she didn't.
Right.
But I do agree that scene of them passing the coat back and forth, that was showing us, not telling us. Mm-hmm. Right? We're seeing the literal manifestation of them forgetting Poppy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think overall, I mean, the season overall, it felt like there were some high points, but a lot of it felt a little confusing, and it felt like they weren't really sure what they were doing the whole time.
And, this season, it started off really strong. We got the Robot Revolution, we got Lux, we had The Well, like just such huge, good episodes. And then I think it fell into this weird trap of like we have to have this huge overarching story, but with like multiple overarching stories, and it just couldn't really find its footing. I think going forward, like if Russell T Davies wants to stay on it, look, I'm very grateful that they brought Who back in 2005. And I think they've done some good stuff with this one, but I think they just need to get fresh and new writers. They need to get new people in here and like just leave the classic stuff in the past. Let's stop reusing people just to get people to watch it, you know, create a good story and people will come. Don't rely on David Tennant's face or Billie Piper's face to bring people in. Because Ncuti brought people. You know how many times like on social media when Ncuti was announced as a doctor because sex education, because Ncuti was getting so popular, people were like, oh, maybe I should start watching this. Like, you don't need to do that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I hope that whatever form Doctor Who comes back, and I hope it does come back, that, you know, we get something better and more deserving. You know, I'm just sad that we don't have Ncuti, you know, this wonderful queer actor and this huge franchise with such a win, and do better next time, I'd say.
Yeah.
But let us know what you thought. Did you enjoy it? Are you hopeful for the next Doctor? Who do you want as the next Doctor? Better not be Billie Piper.
Listen, all I can say is listen to Billie Piper's debut album from the early 2000s because that shit slaps.
Yeah, and her as Rose is amazing. We don't need her back.
I've been missing you. Oh, so good. Honey to the Bee. Oh, so good.
All right. Well, TARDIS noise fade out. Yes. Goodbye.
Bye.